Okay, so I hope this is going to be a fun stream and a cool video for people to look at in the future. What we have is the, let me get the name right, GPTOYS. I'm looking for the number. Somewhere I have the number. GPTOYS S918 RC WRX drift car. Drift shark, I think they say. Yeah, it actually says it here, drift shark. And I plan on doing a full teardown of it. Their instructions are awesome. Let's take a look. Yeah. So, it kind of goes backwards. Not too sure why. But they give a full disassembly with part numbers. Here's some part numbers. I guess these are spare parts. I wonder if they sell any upgrades. Just exploded views. So, let's get started and see how far we can get and what we find. Maybe we'll find something interesting inside here. So the instructions say to start with taking the 4 clips off, taking the battery off, and unscrewing the 2 right there. Unscrewing the 2 battery posts. So let's do that. There's the body. Put that off to the side. I'm sure I'll run out of space for all the components that I'm going to have down here. And the body posts with these 2 screws. So let me grab the screw kit. Let's see if I can find a Phillips head that fits this nicely. Perfect. So because it's a live stream, it's going to be quite long and boring at times, but I figure it may be beneficial to some people. See the teardown? Did I do it right? Yeah. Okay, so you can see here that they have it set to the middle one. There's 3. Oh well, there's 4, and they act second from the bottom. You can see. I don't know if it'll show up on the camera, but you can see the second from the bottom has the threaded holes in it. So I think I'm actually going to put the screws back into that once. Try to be smart about which screws I take off and which screws I can put back into the locations that they came from during disassembly. So now we have the rear. The rear is 3rd from the top height, right there. My camera only has one, doesn't have autofocus, so I have it focused for down on the table. Once again, it's the third from the top. This is the way it comes stock, assembled. Now let's take some dimensions real quick, just to see what sizes are. They're 2.8, 2.9, so I'd say it's probably a 3mm hole for the body. Just out of curiosity, the post looks like it has an adjustment of 17mm. That's the rear. The front, there's going to be the same thing, 3mm, and it looks like it has an adjustment of 6.25mm. So I'll put those components off to the side. They do show the battery not being. No, they do show the battery inside. So let's look at the next instructions. So the shocks and the steering arms, not arms, not too sure. Let's see, maybe I can get the right name. Steering track rod. Alright, so let's do this. I want to make sure I take apart the right thing. Make sure I have it set right on the table. And these just pop off. Yeah, they just pop off. Okay. So, popped off. That is the front. And now let's take a look at the back. Maybe I should keep it oriented the same way. We'll measure them, see if they're the same. Take a look at the holes, 3mm holes. That's 3. So they may be a little different. That's 3.1, and this side was 3.4. So there might be a difference between the top and the bottom a little bit. That's 18.8, 18.8, 18.9, and 18.8. So I think they're all the same. I don't think there's supposed to be like any design difference between the front and the back. And it looks like they all have the same spacer. Yep, so I would say that those are all the same shocks. Let's see if we can take one apart. Measure the spacer that comes with it. 1.5 spacer. And then let's see how or can. Looks like it goes like this and then twists. Nope. Don't want to break it, but I would like to know how it comes apart. Maybe they were snapped together, like they it's like a press fit and then snaps. Because I'm not seeing any way. It's bottoming out on there, so I think, it looks to me like it was just pressed together. And you probably could press it apart, but I don't want to break it. Measure the diameter of the spring, 7mm diameter spring. So let's put this back in. See if I put it back in on the right side. It's the side opposite of the piston. Okay. Now let's take off these. Yep, they're just supposed to press off, but it seems like it's bottoming out, so I need to be careful. Trying to pop it off without putting any pressure somewhere else. Wonder if okay, they're pressed on there pretty good. Wish I had something to pry it off with. See, I would say that they're on there. And they definitely are pressed on. That is correct. Let's see, how about the servo first? Okay, well, got one. That's a start. But I can't really swing it around. I wish I could get some more distance out of there. But I don't want to take it, don't want to disassemble anything else. I'm trying to follow the manual. Man, thought I had that time. Some kind of tool that would help me out here, but not too sure what that would be. I don't think this is going to be strong enough, but maybe it can get underneath there. Okay, I was able to pry it up that way. So it looks like it's 90 degrees. From each other. And I would say it's a 37 millimeter center. Well, down to these two down here. I wonder if this little tool that isn't made for this will help me to pry this thing up and get. Oh, can't really see in the camera. Don't want to do that. They really make sure to press these things on tight. Yeah, they are tight. Trying to get a location on this one. This will be good. Okay. So I would suggest some type of tool. I mean, these things are supposed to be tweezers, but they're not very good. But they came in handy for that. Let's look about the center on this. .51 millimeters, I would say, on the center for that. Let's get back to the manual. So next, the manual says to disassemble, looks like the brace, and take off the receiver and ESC. Let's do that. And the screw bit fits these also, even though they're different types of screws from the other ones I was using. So it says 3 total screws, and that makes sense. 3 screws. They all look the same. 2 for the front, 3 for the back. We can disconnect the servo, disconnect the battery, disconnect the motor. Let's put the car up there and take a look at this receiver and receiver servo setup, and that says it has 2 screws here. And it's slotted, so you can adjust the location of this. Maybe if you had a different body on it, you may need to adjust the location. And this is bent. That's interesting. Wonder if it needs to be bent, or if it got bent in manufacturing of it. Can't really tell. It looks like maybe water jet. These screw locations are kind of interesting. It's all. Alright, let's put these screw backs and let's measure and see what's going on with that part. I want to make sure to put the correct screws back. We can measure these screws. So they're 2 millimeter. Look like pan heads. Overall length is 6. 6.5 under the head, 5.5. Gotta remember to keep doing it so you can see in the... And of course they would be plastic screws. So if you ever need to buy screws, especially for like hobby and toys, for plastic you want to make sure you buy plastic screws because their threads are pitched higher and made to tap into the plastic. So I guess we can measure this, why not? 40, 47, just going to round up, 20, 26, and 12. I think we're done with that. Let's put the screws back into here, into the body. Hopefully they can stay there for the duration of the disassembly. Two in the front. And 3 in the back. Which now, oh, yeah, correct. I just had the car spun around. Those were all the same. We'll measure those in case you need to buy these. 6.5 overall length. 5.25 under the head. Diameter of 2 millimeters. So I think that should be enough for someone to buy the screws. I think the best place to buy them would be on McMaster-Carr if you need to buy plastic screws like that. They do look slightly different, don't they? Yeah. That's weird. Yeah, some of these are... Let's see. 1, 2, 3 of these are countersunk screws. And then 2 of them are panhead, which makes no sense. Let's see what the manual says. I mean, they say the same screws, but they are not the same screws. They are not the same screws inside here. And then that, maybe that's why these are kind of like chewed up. So let's take a look at this thing. This is a 1.6 millimeter. Overall length of this is 111 millimeter. And we got different size holes. 1.8. Oh, they're the same size, 1.8. So the through holes look to be all the same, except for that one. That hole's 3.37, 1.7, 1.8. So yeah, they countersunk a couple of these after it was anodized. Really strange. And it's bent. Well, put it off to the side and continue with our disassembly. Okay, we did this step. Took off the SC and receiver. Removed all these screws. Next. I don't know if they go from top to bottom. Let's see. This one. Okay. So remove the servo. The steering servo. And then remove the battery. Alright. Steering servo is held from underneath by 3 screws. I wonder if these 3 screws will all be the same. 1, 2, 3. Servo already fell. Push up the screw through. Let's take a look at the servo. So the servo's just trapped in between the standoffs. Push it down in there. You got a little servo saver, maybe? Yeah. There's a little bit of a servo saver in there. Let's take off the servo saver, or servo arm. Let's measure a few things inside here. Might be helpful for somebody. So this is the servo. 3.8. 3.2. Then you got this guy. Then you got this. Guess we'll measure the spring. Maybe that'll be helpful. 4.24, and the diameter of 5.2. That goes on like that, so you can see how they match up. Wish I had a little bit more better focused lighting, but they match up. And then the spring, and then the screw holds down the spring. Let's measure the screw. It's a 1.6 by 7.1. 6 millimeter head. I don't remember if I went under the head, but I might as well do it. 6. And then overall length 7. So if somebody ever needs to buy it, and it looks like a plastic screw. I probably don't have the right bit for this one. Looks like them centered pretty well. I centered it up before I disassembled it in hopes that I would put it back together correctly, which seemed like I did. Then you got the little cap. Nice. We'll put the servo off to the side. Well, I don't think there's anything important about this, right? I don't know about the connector. Oh, let's look at the screws that hold it down. Head size 3.4. Overall length 6.3. Under the head 5.5. So you have 3 of them. Let's put them back. Sometimes it's kind of hard to get the screw back into the holes when okay, so put that off to the side. Did I measure the servo? Ah, you can see they broke off. Looks like it had an arm here that was cut off. Let's see if we can measure that. 21. 11, 11.6, or 17.7 about, and then that arm is still on this side but not on the other side. Which doesn't need it. Let's see. How do they... It's 2 in the front, right? And then post in the back. It was hard to say. I think it may go this way. No. No. So I guess that's the only way it can go together. So that's the way it goes. There's this little peg, which I think lines up with a hole. Let's see. Should it line up with a hole? That's 13.5. And that's 13.5. Yeah, it's about the same. So I guess that's supposed to go down in a hole, but it's a little bent. That post is a little bent. So I don't think it actually made it down into the hole, and they just tightened it up. Back to the vehicle. Next was to remove the battery. So just these 2 clips. This cap, I guess you could call it. So you got a cap here. They're kind of in line. So I guess probably could just use anything that has a 56mm center with probably a 3mm hole. So you don't necessarily need to use this piece of plastic that's also bent. Which I don't know if it needs to, but I guess you can see the battery doesn't seat all the way down inside here. Like the wires are keeping it from actually going flush with the body or the frame. So this is the battery. See if we learn anything here. LiPo battery, 400 milliamp hours, 7.4 volts. It's got 18 millimeters that way by about 14.5 millimeters with an overall length of 50 millimeters. I don't think there's much more to say about the battery. Balance port and a power port, and on this vehicle the balance port is used for charging and plugging into the ESC. Guess we can measure the inside here. This may be helpful. Let's see what we get. We have 18.9 by 53, and if we were to put, let's say we were to put this at the highest point, see if we can get a measurement there. I would say about 16 millimeters could probably fit underneath there. I think that was the next step. Next is to remove the battery housing. 2 screws on each side. They only want you to remove one. Remove one, then remove the wheels with the tires. So we can do that. Only remove one. Interesting idea. Measure these screws, 2 millimeters. They are 6.5 overall, and they're countersunk screws, so I don't think they really measure under the head on countersunk screws, but 5.2 under the head. Okay. Measure this post, 2.8, so 3 millimeter hole. Ah, something fell apart here. What happened? I did not notice that. Did they tell you to take this piece off yet? No. So when did this come loose? Okay, so something to know here is that this cap over top of the gears was held on by this aluminum brace, upper brace. So it actually is just loose now, and I don't think they told me to take it off yet. Ah, actually, where is it? I guess they did, and I didn't follow the instructions. No, I don't know. Right here, they show you taking that off, and then they just show it extra. So maybe it was a redesign. Maybe they added this piece later. I don't know. I mean, it looks like it was designed quite well to fit in there. It'd be hard to believe that it was an afterthought. But maybe when they took the pictures, they did not. When they exported the pictures to make the instruction manual, they forgot to put a step in to take this out. Now we're back to the tires here. Let's take a look at how they're held on. They're held on with screws. Let me guess, plastic screws? I think they're plastic screws. Yeah. So they have this spacer. They have a spacer and a screw there. And then the tire comes off. So we'll do... Gonna guess that the wheels are all the same, but we're gonna find out. We're gonna see if there's any difference in these. Now those were the front and one of the back, so let's just check. I think everything's going to be the same. 3.2 on the flats, 3.1. Yeah, it looks like they're all the same. We'll look at them a little deeper once we have all the tires off. One more. I'll give a second. Take a look at what we got here now. We do have bearings, which I guess you would need. Let's take a look at the wheels. Let's see. Hard to tell what they're made out of. They look like plastic. Yeah, they're plastic. And they look like they may be glued on. So we'll take some dimensions here. 29. 10.6. Internal. 21.5. And then the distance. Try to get a distance here of 3 millimeters. They have this little spacer. It is a 4.5 millimeter hex, and it's spacing by 2.3. The screw is 7.75 overall. It's a self-tapping plastic screw. 1.7 millimeters diameter, so maybe a 2 millimeter. To measure the head, maybe that'll just help somebody. 3 millimeter head. See if I can get that screw out and measure the overall length. Oh, I did measure the overall length. They're pan head. It's a pan head with 7.7. In case I didn't get that. And the diameter of the head, I think I got that already, but I forget. Check it again. 2.3. So I think we can just leave all. We'll just put the tires all to the side. Let's see what the next instructions are. Well, looks like they're missing some stuff here. A little different, right? They're going right into this. Oh, no, I missed a page. Okay. Shock absorber brackets, and I think we're starting up here first. I can't tell. Yeah, this still has the bracket, so it's going this way. So remove the shock absorber brace. There's 2 screws, and then the 2 little control arms, which wonder where they're at. Oh, okay. That's the hold. I see what's going on. So we'll remove the shock absorber brace with the 2 screws. And then these arms that look like they just snap off once again. Let's see if I can use this tool that was supposed to be for something related to fixing cell phones. And they want us to take this off. Let's see. Make sure I get underneath the camera. Okay. So that's one of them. Two of them off. Let's take a look. We got the 2 screws. They are panhead with 3.6 diameter head, overall length 5.8, under the head 5, and they're plastic screws. This plastic actually got tapped a little bit, so I think we can just keep them inside there. These have a center of 16.5 millimeters. And these measure 3.47. And they come off. Let's disassemble them and see what's underneath there. And just take one apart. See what we got going on. We have 4.7. We got a very long screw that I would say is 7.5 to 7.5 millimeters long, and it's a 1.38 millimeter outside diameter. Put it back together. No reason for me to keep it apart. Down. The front. Same thing. Just a shock absorber. Shock absorber bracket assembly. Screw went somewhere. I'm going to guess that it's the same setup as the other side because it's a shock absorber, so all the screw lengths are the same. I don't think I have to disassemble it. See if I can put the screws back in here. Oh, measure the screws. 5.6. 2 millimeters. And they are panhead. So I don't think. And 4.5 length under the head. Let's see what's next. Okay. We are disassembling upper control arms, maybe? That's what they're called. They have 4 screws. They look all about the same. They're long. They go through the control arms so they can pivot. And then they're connected to, don't know what you would call that. Let's see if they tell me what that is. Let's see if I can get the right terminology here. Somewhere. Upper swing arms? No. Lower swing arms? It's a whole assembly. That's this one. Rear steering cup, and then there should be the transmission shaft and the front steering cup. Okay. That's what they call those. So we are removing these long screws from here. We'll definitely take some measurements on those screws. leverage there to pop them off. That's nice. Now these want to come out, but I guess that's to be expected. We'll just let them be for now. I think they all look to be the same component. So you just have 4 equal. Put the vehicle off to the side, and then we'll measure these screws. See what we got going on here. They look cut, so they must have bought something standard. They're cut to about 12 millimeters. They look like panhead, 3.4 millimeter diameter, and a 2 millimeter, 1.9 millimeters, probably a 2 millimeter thread that is about 4.3, or total from the head 4.4, but then under the head was something different. Under the head was maybe 3 millimeters. So let's put them back in there so we don't lose them. Don't need to screw them all the way down. Just a turn or two. We can put these off to the side. What do they want next from us? Okay. Took them off. Next is to remove the covers for the differentials. In the back or the front, there's going to be those upper, what do they call them? They were for the steering. These things. Rear ball head pull rod. So we're going to be removing the screws for that also. So now, to reach those screws, I have to screw this all the way in, which is fine. I don't think it's going to interfere with anything. And they said these, which have see if I have the right tool for that. Nope, not that one. Maybe next size up. That may work. So if you need to know, this is using an H1.5, CRH 1.5. I don't know what. I'm guessing it's measures 1. No, measures 1.5. So let's remove those. They're actually using them to tie down the case to the differential. and the case comes off. Think I can get away with putting these screws back in there. Don't think it's going to interfere with anything. It's just easier so I don't lose them. Screws, 6.4, 2mm diameter, and these are countersunk. So 6.4 again, countersunk plastic screws. I think we need the correct bit. Put these back. I think I realized why the instructions are backwards. Because the instructions are for assembly, not disassembly. That's why. Okay, let's take this cover and put it off side. This, they said there's 4 screws total. One, two. We gotta screw these ones in all the way so we can reach them. I want to make sure I don't strip out the Phillips head in them by having the bit spin, because I'm not putting enough pressure on it. Okay. And the case to the front differential. And once again, they're using different screws. Like this is a countersunk, 6.5, and then what are they? 3mm. Yeah, and then oh no, that's countersunk. That's countersunk, so I guess they're the same. They're all countersunk, but I think maybe a panhead would be more appropriate for sitting flush on the top of the case. I don't think a countersunk screw is necessary. Unless they're using the countersunk screw to line it up, but I don't think they need to, because they got these posts, and there's definitely enough areas that line everything up. The screws, I don't think, need to be used in any way for alignment. They're just for holding it down. So the countersunk screw is probably wrong from the guy who engineered it. It's hard to tell. I mean, they say 91819. Let's see if they give an actual picture of that screw. 919 91918. 91919. So no. 2.5 flat. I don't know what that means. So we got the 2 cases off, the front and the back. Next, we can remove the differentials. and the gear shaft going from the front to the back. Let's see. Did it say to take the arms off? They just kinda disappeared, didn't they? Yes, they did. These. Okay, that's the front that popped out. Not the rear with the bigger bumper, and then the front. I think they're the same. Makes sense. That would be a good design. See how long we've been going. Hour. Sure taking a while, so I hope this is detailed enough, which I'm sure it is. So, I don't know if I want to take these off. They're all the same, so let's see. Should just be able to pop them off. 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know how they're exactly held in. Okay. So they're made of plastic. I think it's all plastic. It's all plastic press fit. Yep. All plastic press fit. And then they have bearings pressed on either side of this arm. I mean, the bearings feel pretty good. So, for them, I don't know if there's anything really here to measure or look at. I guess we can measure one of these. Maybe you could find somewhere metal ones. And I guess if I were to measure them, make life a little bit easier. 23.5 millimeters overall length. They have a 3 millimeter flat on them. To the pivot point, you're looking at 10 millimeters. So maybe that's enough to scour the internet and find something. Not too sure. Probably should try to take one of the bearings out, but let's see. Great. Got one of the bearings out, so we can measure one of the bearings, because I'm sure they're all the same. I know people go crazy when you put new bearings in. So it's 8 millimeters diameter and 3.9, so probably 4 millimeters, 4 millimeter internal, 8 millimeter outer, and a thickness of 2 millimeters. And you would need 2 per, so that's, you would need 8 for these. But I'm assuming they are the same also for the center shaft. We'll measure that. We'll take that out. So I think now we need to remove the motor. 2 screws? Ah, it says 4. Shows 4 on the picture. Why? Ah. Well, 2 for the motor. So here's the motor. We should probably dig deeper into that and take some measurements, which I will. But let's take... what should I do? The motor? Well, let's do the motor first. What do we got here? We have a motor and it's held... There's a cap here. Maybe to help not get your fingers in there. Once again, there's this screw, which is the same size all the time, 6.5. Head size of 3.7. And this is a countersunk screw, plastic. Now it has hard to tell. Looks like it says 21 pin. It says 21. Well, it says 21. I'm assuming that's the pin, and it's 11.5 diameter. Now I don't think there's any adjustment anywhere, so I don't know what kind of upgrades you could do. And I think it's pressed on. Now I can probably unscrew this, but I'm guessing that this thing's really pressed onto that shaft because there's no set screw in it. So I'm going to say yes, that thing is probably pressed on super tight. And if I pry it apart and I ruin it, I will not be able to use the drift car anymore. So I hope that was enough information. I'll measure it again. 11.5. It says 21. And the thickness looks to be 3.5 thickness. I don't know if this, I guess I can take some measurements on the motor. 15.4 on the flat, 20 millimeter on the thicker side. Overall length of the casing is 25. Overall with the little board on the back is 26.2 about. And I don't know, there is some capacitors on the back and a lot of solder. They really wanted to make sure that it was soldered, and it's definitely soldered well. Put the motor off to the side. Let's put these screws. Put the screws back inside the component so I don't forget which ones came from where or lose them. Now we have the two differentials. They are locked. They have this bearing on here, and yeah, the bearings are on here pretty tight. Okay, but they do come off, not with a lot of pressure. So I'm assuming these are going to be the same thing, right? Oh no, they're different. So these are 9.5 by 6.25. So let's measure that again. Is that really 6.25? Yeah, 6.25. It's a strange size, right? 6.25 ID, 9.5 OD, and a thickness of 3.1. don't know if there's anything else really to look here. I mean, looks like they could be... Ah! They're screws. So let's take it apart. Let's do it. Let's see what's inside. We want to see what's inside here. They're locked, so I don't know exactly what we'll be able to find out. Yeah. So it spins. So it's just plastic on plastic in there. But they have these 3 pins. The 3 pins line up with 3 holes. And that gives you lock differential. These screws are quite tiny, 1.4. Overall length of 3.7. And there's a total of 3 of them per assembly. Has like oil all around it, which is kind of interesting. I mean, the only thing on here that would need oil or grease would be the bearings. Nothing else is moving on this. So I don't know why there would be so much. I mean, it really looks like there's grease inside there. I mean, there are the plastic piece does, this piece does spin, but because it's locked, it doesn't. I mean, when it's assembled, like they're locked. So yeah, I would really say, and these bearings look sealed, so I don't know why there's so much oil. Unless it came from the gear here. So maybe that's why. Next, I think we took... Now we have to... Let's take the shaft out. The drive shaft. And we need to remove these 2 screws. That comes out, and that comes out. So we have the drive shaft with some, whoa, little tiny bearings. But once again, I am going to assume that this thing is like seriously pressed together, because it's metal with plastic gears, and yeah, those gears, I'm going to guess that they really press those gears on so it doesn't slip. So I'm not going to be able to take it apart without breaking something or taking the risk of not being able to put it back together. 6.4 is all the same screw, but I keep measuring them. 3.5 and a diameter of 2. yeah, I don't know the benefit of measuring any of this, because I don't think you'd be able to replace anything. I mean, I'll just go down it and just measure some stuff. I mean, if you needed this, you'd have to get the whole... Let's see what they sell. Anything related to that? Oh yeah, see? Transmission main shaft. See, it all comes assembled together. So that makes sense. So if something happens there, you're gonna have to buy that whole thing. I'm gonna guess that you would take a high risk of destroying it by taking it apart, trying to do something with it. We can put that off to the side. Next, gearbox components. And so yeah, they pretty much want us to disassemble the rest of the frame. So let's see how quick I can do that. I'm sure all the screws are going to be the same. They kind of show the bumpers and all that stuff just coming out, which yes it does, it's just kind of sandwiched in there. Let's put these screws back into here. Put that up there. Onto the rear, which has the bigger bumper. There's the frame, the bottom. Put the screws back into this. I guess I'll measure them again real quick. They should all be the same. 6.4. The heads 3.75 and a diameter of 2. And the bumper. Let's look at this frame, or the bottom frame. Anodized. It looks flat. It's hard to tell on my table, but looks pretty flat. Thickness. Come on, what's going on with my... Losing my signal here. That's not good. Better not be doing anything funny. Stay. Okay, 1.5. An hour 20 minutes. Okay. Yeah, nothing. They got these slots here, which I don't think we use. Maybe they were for cooling. There is some areas that were rubbed after it was anodized, but no real modifications done to the frame after it was anodized. So put it off to the side. I guess I could take some overall measurements. I don't know if it's going to help anybody, but 135 by 59.2. We have the bumpers. Might as well keep going. So you got a piece, and this is the rear bumper. Bumper 65 by 19. Looks like the through hole is about 4 millimeters. And then they use this piece. I think that was right. Yep, that looks right. And then they squish it with this. And we have these screws. 6.5 overall. Head size 6.3 and a diameter of 2. I figure out how the screws went back together. I think they came in from, well, they gotta come in from that side. So, but they look threaded. Okay, so I guess it's like that. Yeah. I'm not going to disassemble this one since it's the same basic design. 46.4 by 17.9. I think that's good enough for these bumpers. And the thickness is 5.6, 5.5, somewhere around there. Let's see, is there anything else that we can just, I mean, they're showing gearbox component, which we took off. They look identical. I would say they are identical. One is just using the different screws to hold the rear. This is the rear, so the tires don't move. I don't know what really there is to look at here. Not much. I guess we can take, since they're all the same, let's take one apart just to see what's inside. So here's another one of these screws. I don't know if it's the same. 14 millimeter overall length, 1.5 shaft diameter, 1.8 thread diameter, and the head is 3.1. I think there's 4 of them. They all look identical to me. So yeah, I think we've taken this car completely apart. I guess I'll bring the components in and just do a little show of each of the components. Okay, we have the assembly, the drive shaft assembly. Make sure it stays within camera. We got our tires, which we can put up here. Differentials. Covers. Some arms. While I'm doing this, I guess I'll talk about a few things. So, if you want a review of this car, definitely go check out some other people's review. They do a much better job getting into detail, and they drive it. I thought it would be interesting to do a teardown since I have a setup nice enough to do it with an overhead camera and some time to kill. It's the first one I did, and I put an affiliate link down inside the description. You can click the affiliate link and buy it on Amazon if you would like. Right now it's $54.99 after a $15 clip and save. I can't tell you if it's worth it because I did not even try it. Now, some other people have on YouTube, you can go check that. More importantly, give me a thumbs up so I know if you like the video. I can do other ones like this, or I can do some teardowns. Definitely had some fun doing this one. Alright, did we get everything else? I hear some bumpers. Let's get the bumpers in here. Did we get everything? Let's see. Got the frame. Guess I really can't fit. So there's the frame. Guess we can do this with the frame. Probably can make this the thumbnail for the video. Be like, yeah, check out how crazy I was to disassemble this whole car. Yeah. So, thanks for watching. If you watched all the way through, which nobody I think in their right mind would watch this whole thing. But hopefully if you bought the car or thinking about buying the car, you can skim through it and see how it's made, how it's put together. As far as construction wise, I don't see anything wrong with it. A lot of the screws are plastic screws, so of course they're going to hold together very well. I highly doubt they're going to back out, being that they're plastic. I don't even remember taking apart one metal screw. So as far as construction, I would say, yeah, it's built as intended, as the engineer originally intended this to be put together. They did it. I didn't see anything missing. I didn't see any screws missing. These instructions are awesome. So if you buy the car, of course you have my video, but they are definitely very detailed instructions. So enjoy, and thanks for watching. I appreciate any kind of clicks, thumbs up, whatever, subscribe, all that junk. But I definitely had fun doing this, and maybe if I get some views and some thumbs up, I will buy another RC car in this range and disassemble it and tear it down and see how it's made, how they put it together. Till next time.